Last year, Central Television invited Bill Smethurst, then producer of The Archers, to take over the long-running Crossroads and give it a facelift. So he made it more upmarket, and the new proprietor, Bomber Lancaster, played by Terence Rigby, set about changes in staff. On Monday, he appointed Jill Chance general manager, but he had nothing to offer her husband, Adam, played by Tony Adams.
Lucky old Jill, what about me?
Well, the same thing applies to you, really.
Same as what?
Well, you're doing a good job here as leisure centre manager. I'd be more than happy to let it stay like that.
So you're going to offer me no increase in my responsibilities?
But this is a responsible job, isn't it? Of course, you'd be in line for a little increment.
I don't want a little increment, thank you. I want a job commensurate with my skill and my experience.
Adam, there's a lot of scope here.
There is not a lot of scope here. I've got 2 useless assistants, some out-of-date equipment, and a lot of water.
Don't you want the job?
No. Give it to your chum from the Sandwell Diner.
Vicky?
Or your drunken crony from Lytham St Anne's.
No.
Or your poisonous daughter. You are a vulgar, chopped-up cafe owner, Bomber. And you're going to wreck this motel.
Dorothy Hobson, you wrote a book about Crossroads 3 or 4 years ago. It's changed a bit since then, hasn't it?
It has. Not only did Central bring in Bill Smethurst last year, they had Philip Bowman in the year before. So Crossroads has had 2 new producers in as many years and has suffered, I think, because of that. On the one hand, they put a lot of money into it, so it now looks very good. Central's film crews and production teams make it look very good. What it's done is lost its direction and not really found the direction it's going in. It's lost a lot of its main characters. Each producer who's come in has kind of washed away all the people who've been there, and now that the show has just got Jill and Adam and Benny left there with a lot of new people to cope with.
Benny, whom we didn't see last week.
No, because he's gone off
with the dog.
With the dog, upset because of Miss Diane's death. And the problem is, these characters are the people who used to be in the programme that are the characters that the audience want to see. Now, some of the new characters are actually very good. The Charlie Mycroft character is good. But what the new production has done is created some appalling Midlands characters who bear no relationship to people who come from the Midlands. I mean, there is the worst character I think I've ever seen in a soap opera is Mrs. Tardybig, who is nothing like anyone that anyone knows in Birmingham. The people who watch the programme actually don't like it because of this reason.
Jasper, you come from that part of the world too, don't you? What do you think about these characters?
Well, I don't know, every comedian in the country must be grateful for Crossroads. I mean, you know, we get hours of material out of this show. I'm trying to find some redeeming factor. I suppose there's no sex and no violence. It always portrays Brummies as particularly dim and stupid, which well, no, it's not the case. And I mean, it's the only British soap opera that's dubbed. And I've done all the jokes about Crossroads, and literally, I stopped doing jokes about Crossroads about 8 years ago.
Well, in that case, tell me one or two.
Oh, crikey. I wouldn't say the acting is wooden. It would be an insult to trees. I won't get, no, really, honestly, I mean, hundreds of them. And, you know, it's like watching paint dry and stuff like that. And,
but I found it, well, Monday's edition, which I thought actually was better than the other 2, which waffled a bit, but Monday's I thought was quite, with that clip we showed, was really rather nasty exchange of views. I thought it was quite watchable. You didn't?
Not really. I haven't seen it for ages, and they've got a new producer, and for me nothing had changed. And
except it looks like Holiday Inn now, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, what gets me probably is in America, well, I mean, this is a very successful show, and I wouldn't like to see it up, because it obviously gives millions of people enjoyment. But in America, with a successful series like that, they would pour millions into that, you know, to really bring it up to scratch. But Central don't seem to do that.
What do you think, Vicky?
Oh, I found it heartbreaking. I haven't watched it for many years, and in the good old days, I mean, it was the equivalent of EastEnders to my family. You know, we were all on the edge of our seats about Noel Gordon's husbands and who would do her wrong next and everything. Yeah. And, I mean, I didn't recognise anybody, which you can say really doesn't matter. You should join a soap at any point. but I found that the scripts dull, and there was a little bit of wit there, you know, now and again. But largely, I found the exchanges really, really boring. The characters, as you say, the awful sort of Midlands characters, I found patronising. It was heartbreaking.
It was fairly cliche-ridden, the script, wasn't it?
It was, and it's almost because they've had one or two endings which are very much radio endings, because television soap operas usually end on a look or a gaze or something, which that hasn't happened. They end on words, and then you almost expect the Archer's theme to come in over it. It's a little bit radio.
Well, the end of the last one we saw said, where on earth are you, Benny? So, well, that was supposed to be a cliffhanger for next time, wasn't it? For next week.
With a little more humour, it could run Acorn Antiques.
That's right, that's right. I also wonder with the soap whether, by their very nature, you create these sort of big characters, like the Noel Gordon character, and then to knock them down, or to keep changing things, will just undermine the programme itself. I mean, they found that out in Dallas, which is why they pay everybody enormous sums to come back again. You get used to those characters.
It's rather odd about some of these soap operas. Dallas, what you were saying there made me think of it, but I found the people in this, on the whole, one or two exceptions, like the young man who's going off to the Red Ox Trading Centre, awfully unpleasant. They're really disagreeable characters, aren't they? I mean, the poisonous daughter is poisonous. And Bomber Lancaster is horrible.
There were some very unpleasant male characters.
And that's not a tradition of British soaps, and I don't think any other company would have let that happen to their programme. I mean, Granada, Coronation Street has new producers, Emmerdale Farm has new producers, but the company don't let the whole programme be changed, whereas Central seem to just have left it in limbo,
yes,
really.
I mean, you're up against EastEnders, really and truthfully. I mean, the EastEnders now have got that sort of, I mean, as we saw with Channel 7, it's very quick, it changes all the time. They have 4 or 5 different scenes going on, and they keep coming back to it, so your attention's always involved.
So next Monday, I guess, none of you will be looking to see where Benny and the dog have got to.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you will?
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, I've got to see how they get out of that one.
Well, thank you all very much. Jasper, Carrott, Vicky, Licorish, Dorothy, Hobson. Thank you.